Alright guys, I'm back with another Horror Room movie review, and this is Jeepers Creepers 2 from 2003. Had a budget of $17 million, made back $63 million, so definitely a popular movie at the time. The first one did really well too, so I guess a lot of people were looking forward to this sequel. For me personally, when this movie came out, it really reminded me a lot of the whole Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer series of movies. And I think that's one reason I just never watched it. I didn't really care for that, I guess, era with I Know What You Did Last Summer and all of that. It just seemed so generic. So I think that's one reason I was kind of put off the Jeepers Creepers series and never really got around to watching them. But this movie I actually thought was pretty good. It had the same creeper, Jonathan Breck, so at least they got him back for this. Had appearances, little cameos by Derry, Justin Long. And overall, it was a pretty good movie. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, the second one's not as good as the first, which is true, but I thought this one still did a pretty good job. Had some more focus on action, and it had its goofy moments, but overall, it was a fun movie. So, I'm hoping the third movie is just as good. I have read a little bit about the story that they plan to do for this, and I'm looking forward to the third one. So it starts off every 23rd spring for 23 days, it gets to eat. And it starts with day 22. I think it said this is 3 days after the events of the first movie. So that explains the timeline. So there's this kid playing in a cornfield. He's hanging up scarecrows, and the creeper's one of the scarecrows. His dad and brother see him get picked up by the creeper. The creeper flies away with him. Or no, he doesn't fly away with him yet. He's carrying him through the cornfield. His dad and brother run out to try to save him. There was this really weird scene where the kid kept saying, "Dad," and his dad kept saying, "Billy," and it just kept cutting back and forth to their faces. But the creeper eventually does fly away with him, and there's nothing they can do here. They definitely don't call the police. And then we see day 23. This is his last day to creep. So there's this bus with some high school football players. And this actually reminds me, there's a really good article on Cracked.com where they list all these movies that are, I think, unintentionally gay, and this movie is number one. Read that article and watch this movie. I read the article a long time ago. I love that website. I always check it out every single day. So I ended up reading it a long time ago, way before I saw this movie. And that is all I could think about when watching this movie. So definitely check that out. Yeah, just Google Cracked.com unintentionally gay movies or something, and you should find the link. But it's number one, and there is a lot of stuff in this movie that's kind of like weird when you watch it, especially after reading that. But this bus with high school football players gets a flat tire from a creeper throwing star. It's made of bones and stuff. And they can't get a signal on the phone. They get a broadcast about the church that burned down in the first movie and how they found all the bodies. I'm glad they kind of referenced that. And then the kids all get out of the bus and they go outside to take a piss. And they all stand right next to each other. Who does that? I mean, this is a big-ass field. And all of them are just lined up next to each other. Very strange. Cuts back to Billy's family. They find a knife the creeper dropped. And I guess it kind of guides them to where the creeper is. I'm not really sure. But they start making weapons. They're going to go after this thing. It's like Moby Dick. So Scotty, he's one of the football players. He's played by, I don't know the actor's name, but it's Francis's friend from military school in Malcolm in the Middle. And he's pissed off about something that happened at the football game or some crap. And they drive by a cornfield. One of the cheerleaders sees Derry and Billy saying, "Go back." She's having this dream, this hallucination. And then she sees the creeper charging the bus and throwing another ninja star. And then when she wakes up, they get another flat tire. So now it's nighttime. They get some flares. They take all the kids out of the bus. This couple drives by and they tell them to alert the highway patrol that they're stuck out here, and the couple drives off. So the bus driver is checking the tire, finds another ninja star, and this one's made out of Derry's skin. which was pretty disturbing because Derry had this really awkward belly button tattoo. Looked horrible, but he had this tattoo, and you can see it in Minxie's dream, and then you can see it on the Ninja Star. So that was kind of disturbing. It wasn't really disturbing because it was his skin. It was disturbing because of where that tattoo was placed, in my opinion, anyway. But the coach gets picked up by the creeper, so they get all the kids back on the bus. The creeper picks up the bus driver. It's just flying over and picking him up with its feet. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. Scotty gets into a debate with a teacher on what they should do. The teacher gets picked up by the creeper, but they hold onto his legs. But of course the creeper is really strong, flies off with the teacher, and they see that the monster has wings. No shit. But Billy's dad is listening to weird sightings of the creeper on the radio, and I guess at this point they just said screw calling the police about Billy. They never call the police. I have no idea what's going on here. I mean, even if they know, no one's going to believe them. They still have to report a missing kid. I mean, he has to go to school and stuff, so what the hell was the end goal here for Billy's family? Maybe they thought they could get him back or something, but Scotty and one of the other football players start arguing. He's still pissed off about this football game despite everything else that's going on. It was bizarre. But the creeper starts looking in the windows and sniffing around. And one of the kids says that, "Is it looking at me?" And the creeper winks at him. Oh my god, this was so funny, but for all the wrong reasons. It was just silly. It's kind of like something Freddy Krueger would do, I guess. But for the creeper, it's just, I don't know. This creature that's been around for thousands of years. It was really awkward. So he's picking out the ones he wants. He's smelling their fear and all that. And he stares at each one of them. And then he just starts shaking the bus. So Minxie faints and has a dream where she's in the cornfield. She sees Derry. He tells her about the every 23rd spring. It gets to eat for 23 days. And then she turns and looks at him and his eyes are gone like the end of the first movie. This was pretty creepy. I like that. So she wakes up and she tells him what she saw and how it's smelling their fear. It's picking them out. And it's been around for thousands of years and no one's been able to kill it. So Billy's dad and brother find the couple's car that went to get the highway patrol. It's wrecked and the roof's been torn off. They hear the kids on the radio asking for help. They're using the CB, and Billy's dad promises to call the police. He doesn't. Even though the kids are saying, please, just call the police. Don't try and come up here. Just call the police. You're going to need an army if you come up here. And he says, okay, I promise I'll call them. Why doesn't he call them? So he goes up there by himself. He leaves to go save the kids on the bus. The creeper returns. It reaches through the roof. It grabs, I think his name was Bucky, the kid on the radio, and it pulls his head up. He's trying to lift him out of the bus. The other kids are holding on to him, and then they take some javelins and they throw it up there and try and stab the creeper. One of the cheerleaders stabs him in the head, like right through the eye. And the creeper takes the javelin and rips the top of his head off. That was pretty cool. So now the creeper is missing like half a head. And it tries to fly away, but it's injured, and it just collapses, falls back onto the roof of the bus, and blows out all the windows. So now the kids are thinking, this is our chance to escape. This thing's out of commission. So they're trying to sneak by around the creeper. Its wing falls down into the center of the bus. The doors are jammed, but they're still going to try and work together and push the door open. So they're sneaking around the wing. I would have taken a javelin and just stabbed this thing in the wing, like poked holes in it or something. But they're sneaking around. You know some shit's about to go down. And one of the kids, the wing wraps around him, and it rips his head and for some reason his shirt off. Made no sense. And then it shows the kid just like punching the air. His headless body. But yeah, it ripped his head and his shirt off. But the creeper eats his head, rips his own head off because it's torn up, and then grows a new one. And then he flies off again. So Scotty says there are two groups on the bus. There's the group that the creeper picked out that it wants to eat, that it's going to kill no matter what, and then there's the rest of us. And I vote that the people it wants to eat get the hell off the bus. So he wants to take a vote, but this causes a big fight. One of the football players that picked out says, "It looked at you too, but you can have the bus. We're out of here." They're going to head towards this farm. So they all decide to leave the bus, except for this one kid who locks the rest of them out. And the creeper shows up. They all take off running in different directions. He kills one of them with a ninja star. He throws a knife, hits Scotty in the arm, and sticks it into a tree so he can't get his arm loose. The others try to save Scotty. The creeper flies down and just picks him up. Scotty's gone. I really expected him to last longer, but he was kind of a dick in the movie, so I guess he was like a villain. I mean, he tried to kick the other kids off, so. Billy's family runs across Minxie, and he asks her where the bus is, and she says it doesn't matter because you can't kill it. Well, who said they wanted to? I mean, we know they want to kill it, but how the hell does Minxie know this? For all she knows, they just want to show up and grab the kids, load as many of them into the truck as they can, take them to get help, something. But Bucky sneaks back into the roof of the bus. And there's the kid who locked him out and a cheerleader he saved. And they want him to stay away from him because they know he's just going to bring the creeper. And of course the creeper does show back up. And Billy's dad shows up just in time to save Bucky. The creeper's got him. And the creeper just stands up and spreads his wings. This looked awesome. And he turns around and Billy's dad fires a harpoon at him. And just tags him right through the chest. He's got the steel cable connected to it. He's trying to reel in the creeper like he's fishing. I thought this was pretty cool. So the creeper eventually pulls it out and throws it back at him. He reloads. The creeper's flying right towards him, and he harpoons his ass again. But the creeper is able to lift up the cable and flips the truck over. So the harpoons, even though they did, I guess, distract the creeper, they really didn't have a major effect on him. Nothing really has an effect on this monster. Two football players and a cheerleader find a truck. They're driving, and of course the creeper shows up. There's only space for two in the truck. One of them has to ride in the back. So of course the creeper's flying at him. The kid pulls out a flare gun, blasts the creeper, has no effect. And the cheerleader tucks and rolls. But the driver slams on the brakes, causing the creeper to go through the front of the truck, go through the back window, through the windshield, and the truck just flips over. And we see the creeper, and somehow this cost him his wings. I hope I'm not messing this up. He loses an arm, a leg, and his wings from this. I have no idea how, but that's what happened. And the kid that was riding in the back somehow survived this. Which is kind of funny because the driver slams on the brakes to save this kid, and he's the one riding in the back when this thing flips. But he's alive, and he looks up and he sees the creeper jumping towards him. And this was ridiculous looking. I mean, he's got one arm and one leg, and he's just hopping through the corn. And it didn't look right. So he catches up to the football player. He's about to kill him. He opens up his head like he did in the first movie where it's kind of like the Predator. And Billy's dad shows up and shoots him in the face with a harpoon. And then he just starts stabbing the creeper over and over again with the harpoon. And Minxie says, "It's not dead. Its time just ran out." Now, if this was me, the shield, I guess it's a shell, wraps around the creeper. So we don't really know. I mean, we know it's not dead. It's the creeper. But Minxie says it's not dead, its time ran out. So I guess when it runs out of time, the shell kind of wraps around it. But if it was me, I would have cut this thing's head off. I would have set it on fire. I would have ran over it with a steamroller, taken its ashes and spread them all over the world like Dragon Balls. I would have put some ashes in concrete and dropped into the ocean. I wouldn't be messing around with this thing. Just because I stabbed it a few times with the harpoon, I'm not taking any chances. I would definitely cut it up into pieces and burn each piece or something like that. Something a little more extreme. So in the future, 23 years in the future, Billy's dad and brother are charging people money to see this bat out of hell. And they're charging people like $5 to come look at the creeper. And they got it put up in the farm. And it looked like it had wings. So I guess they grew back or something. Because I'm pretty sure it lost them in the wreck. But I don't know. But these three kids actually come into the barn to see the creeper. And they see Billy's dad sitting there. He's really old. And he's got the harpoon pointed at the creeper. And they're like, "You look like you're waiting for something." And he says he is waiting. It's been almost 23 years. And in a couple days, it will be 23 years. And then we know the creeper is going to come back to life. So he's waiting to kill this monster with the harpoon. And that's how the movie ends. Now, the only problem I have with this is how this is going to work with the timeline in the future. Because if the third movie is supposed to have Trish from the first movie and her daughter, I just hope it doesn't screw up the whole 23 years thing. I mean, surely they're not going to mess up the timeline this early when they only had 2 movies to follow. I mean, they could easily go back, watch 2 movies, and try and get the timeline right. Plus, it's all written by the same guy, I think. So, it shouldn't be that difficult to make this work into the timeline. But it is supposed to tell us the origin of the creeper in the third movie, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think it could be a fun movie. And that was it. That was Jeepers Creepers 2. Another weird thing about this, they never used the Jeepers Creepers song. Not once. They never even mentioned it in this movie. I guess they didn't feel like paying for the rights again or something. But overall, this was a fun movie. I enjoyed watching these two. I never got to see them before. And I'm glad I finally got around to checking these 2 movies out. I did enjoy the Jeepers Creepers movies. I can say that. So anyways, I'll be back next week with my review of the Hills Have Eyes series. I'm going to do the first 3 Hills Have Eyes movies. The third one is considered a Hills Have Eyes movie, but technically it has a different name. I don't think it has anything to do with the Wes Craven series, but I'm still going to watch that one. And then, of course, the 2 remakes for the Hills Have Eyes. So I'll be back next week starting that series. Hope you guys like this video. Leave your thoughts on Jeepers Creepers 2 in the comments, and thanks for watching. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, the second one's not as good as the first, which is true, but I thought this one still did a pretty good job. Had some more focus on action, and it had its goofy moments, but overall it was a fun movie. So, I'm hoping the third movie is just as good. I have read a little bit about the story that they plan to do for this, and I'm looking forward to the third one. So it starts off, every 23rd spring for 23 days, it gets to eat. And it starts with day 22. I think it said this is 3 days after the events of the first movie. So that explains the timeline. So there's this kid playing in a cornfield. He's hanging up scarecrows, and the creeper's one of the scarecrows. His dad and brother see him get picked up by the creeper. The creeper flies away with him. Or no, he doesn't fly away with him yet. He's carrying him through the cornfield. His dad and brother run out to try to save him. There was this really weird scene where the kid kept saying, "Dad." Alright guys, I'm back with another horror room movie review, and this is Jeepers Creepers 2 from 2003. Had a budget of $17 million, made back $63 million, so definitely a popular movie at the time. The first one did really well too, so I guess a lot of people were looking forward to this sequel. For me personally, when this movie came out, it really reminded me a lot of the whole Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer series of movies. And I think that's one reason I just never watched it. I didn't really care for that, I guess, era with I Know What You Did Last Summer and all of that. It just seemed so generic. So I think that's one reason I was kind of put off the Jeepers Creepers series and never really got around to watching them. But this movie I actually thought was pretty good. It had the same creeper, Jonathan Breck, so at least they got him back for this. Had appearances, little cameos by Derry, Justin Long. And overall, it was a pretty good movie. I know, and his dad kept saying, "Billy," and it just kept cutting back and forth to their faces. But the creeper eventually does fly away with him, and there's nothing they can do here. They definitely don't call the police. And then we see day 23. This is his last day to creep. So there's this bus with some high school football players. And this actually reminds me, there's a really good article on cracked.com where